Order at like 12:10, and Sue, you want to do the roll then?
Board Member Yankovic.
Present.
Board Member Meister.
Present.
Board Member Larkin.
Here.
Board Member Lonick.
Here.
Board Member McClure. Here. Board Member Cease.
Here.
Board Members Doyle and DeVore are absent, and Chair Reagan.
Here. We need a motion to approve the absence of Doyle and DeVore.
So moved. Second.
Seconded by Cliff. Any further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? And approval of the posted agenda. Need a motion for that.
So moved.
Cliff, is there a second?
Second.
Any changes or additions? None, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? And approval of the minutes from the previous meeting from September 6th. Should be in your packet. Need a motion for that.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Mike? Any corrections or changes to the minutes from the previous meeting? Not, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? And the treasurer's report, Sue?
Current balance is $682,685. All of the ad valorem TIPA revenue has been received. There will be an additional $40,900 for IFT revenue that was captured in the DDA. And that's for the summer capture.
IFT.
The industrial facilities taxes.
I make a motion that the treasurer's report be approved as received.
Is there a second?
Second.
Cliff? Any further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Public comments for items not on the agenda. Hearing none, we'll move on to old business and the downtown master plan. Wayne, what's this?
Good afternoon. At the last meeting, we reviewed briefly the downtown placemaking plan that was actually drafted back in 2014, I think, and through a lot of changes that City Hall was never ultimately adopted. So we made a few changes. I believe you received a copy of the updated plan in the last couple of days. The only real changes that we made to it were on the last pages under action strategies. And last meeting we talked about some of these strategies for implementation. So, you know, we kind of walked through these already. I know Mike, we talked about adding, that's interesting. We talked about adding the, this language in here about focusing on the B sides of buildings. Can you open that as just a PDF, maybe?
Yeah, I did. Well,
Can you get your email?
no,
I thought you could.
it takes forever to upload, so it's like this computer isn't compatible. But let me try pulling it up again here.
So the language in under action strategies, there's basically just a handful of projects that we're thinking in the short term, in the next maybe 10 years. Could be undertaken by the city, so we talk about specifically working on that South River Walk and Overlook project, which we discussed last month, that had like a tide wash and a cantilever walkway out over the river that's shown on page 17 of the plan. If you guys have it here. We also talked about bump outs, colorized lanes, some tactical projects, which would be just temporary things to see how they go. So we're talking about bump outs or islands in the middle of in the street to slow traffic down. There's a lot of stuff that you can do on a temporary basis and just kind of see how it goes for a season. And if it works, then you could think about making it a permanent improvement. Otherwise, you can take it out and you're not out much money and you can go back to the way it was. So there are a lot of really interesting ideas that can be done on a very temporary basis that way. We also talked about gateway signage, mini circles, which was kind of given had a bit of a mixed reaction here, but that's okay. Something like that would have to be studied quite a bit before it was done. If it's on Main Street, we have to work with that, obviously. If not, again, we have to look at a lot of traffic patterns, but there are some benefits to doing those in the right areas. On-street parking, there is quite a bit of it downtown on Main Street now. There's also, I think, areas where we can look at it on-street in other areas and figure out how to control it. I'm of mind that parking, off-street parking in designated parking lots should, while it's necessary, I prefer to see parcels downtown be filled with buildings instead of parking areas and cars. So to the extent that we can kind of maximize on-street parking and some of those things, I think that's good for the city overall because it does leave more room open for development. And this last item that we included here on page 41 is focus on the B sides of buildings. That came out of the Dan Burden walking tour and audit in his subsequent report. And his suggestion here was that a lot of people enter buildings from the rear, so he felt like some focus should also be paid to the rear sides of buildings, and some improvements could also be made and facilitated, not just on the front Main Street side, but also on the rear side, or B side, as he calls it. So, the plan overall, I think, has got a lot of really good ideas in it. I know the city worked really hard on it. It's been a while, obviously, since it was done, but I think a lot of the recommendations and conclusions and projects in here are really valuable and can be really beneficial for the city moving forward, and can really help with the further development of downtown. So, are there any questions about the plan or what you looked at in the last few days? The draft or the graphics or the language recommendations?
Is there a specific page that you want me to go to?
Very, very last couple
Okay.
pages.
You should have them in your packet. It should be in your packet.
We did talk about the South River Walk, and if you weren't quite aware of the loans app, I think Kim really knows a lot of that.
Yeah, I know
So we
a lot
need
about
to, make sure that they're the first people that we approach as far as even why spend any time on it if they're not willing to, have access to it. So that would be our first thing we have to kind of confront.
Yeah.
And then the bump outs, as far as the truck traffic and the turning radius and stuff, again, King Line's important, and Michigan Wire to make sure that that's comfortable for them.
Yeah, a lot of the bump outs, like on Main Street, obviously, MDOT involvement would need to be procured. I know I've spoken with them a few times about that, and they often say, maybe it just kind of depends, and make us a suggestion or give us a project or something to review, and we'll let you know. I haven't gotten a lot of straight yes or no's from them. It kind of depends, but a lot of those things, especially in the areas around downtown where there's a lot of pedestrians, people walking around, the bump outs and things like that really help slow cars down, probably most importantly, and then secondly, there's just a shorter distance for people to walk. So if you're not really young and able-bodied and fit, and it takes you a little bit longer to walk across the street than it would for somebody else, it's just a shorter distance. So there's definitely a safety benefit to that too. So yeah, it looks like on the screen there it's sideways, but there's some of the language about the B sides of buildings, on-street parking as much as possible. We have to work within the available right-of-way that we have, but I think to the extent that we can get parking on the street and free up as much land, as much privately owned land as possible for development, I think it's a good thing.
Good question. If we were, if the council approves this downtown master plan, I know we're in the process right now of trying to make certain areas of the downtown plan unit development. The guidelines in this plan, if if we were to have a project that were to meet these guidelines, because I know in my former community, we set it up this way, that if it met those guidelines, it automatically went to a site plan review, where, in the PUD process, where it can be done relatively quick. Does this plan we have now, if not, if we may have to come back and modify it, would this plan give us that teeth?
Yeah, I don't know if there's enough, I don't know, I mean, I think we will want to get pretty specific in some areas as far as your dimensional standards and some of your policies about exactly how many feet to be built. We have a lot of that language built in now into our mixed-use zoning district, for example, when we drafted that a few years ago. We have, required, we actually have a minimum and a maximum setback in downtown. So a lot of the properties over here to the east on Main Street, and a few properties up here are zoned mixed use. And so we have the minimum setback is 0, so there's none. But the maximum is 10 feet. So the farthest off the street right away that you can be in those areas is 10 feet. We also require a lot of the transparent windows and walkability and sidewalks and those kinds of things. Mike, to answer your question, I think that if we zone a large area of the city, if it's the entire downtown or it's a bunch of parcels, PUD, we could do that. I'd probably we'd still have to rezone by ordinance, and so in that rezoning ordinance, we would have all of the language that would have to be met. And so from there on, then if someone came in with a project that met all of those criteria that we set out, kind of predetermined, that has to meet all of these standards, that if it does, then you fit the PUD and you can go straight to site plan review. It's certainly doable, yeah.
Okay, thank you.
I have a question on bump outs.
Yep.
Because of the practicality and radius of turning for trucks on corners, can you create a bump out in the middle of the block?
Yes. I have seen those. I don't know if MDOT would allow it on Main Street, but they do. I have seen bump outs, mid-block crossings, islands in the middle of the street in between the two through lanes where there's a spot if someone doesn't make it all the way across, they can stop for a minute and then continue the rest of the way. It's all possible, yeah.
Well, the reason I ask is that, we're trying to find a way to slow down traffic. It looks like we're going to increase speed limits, and I think that finding other ways that MDOT isn't, they don't necessarily want us to do that. Mike, did you say that we can't colorize anything?
No, we can't, at least on M21, I asked them that specifically, whether or not we could colorize any of the lanes or the intersections to calm traffic, and their or the intersections, and their response was no, that doesn't meet their standards, they don't allow it. Now you could do that on a street that we own, that's possible, but in order to serve, the intended purpose probably would be to do that on Main, and at this time, MDOT hasn't grasped that yet, so it's not possible at this point. Not to say maybe down the road it couldn't be, but right now MDOT's not looking at that.
I'm just thinking of trying to cross Main Street.
I think what you would want to do, if they would allow it, maybe you'd have some type of a refuge or something like that, where you have a refuge, like for example, maybe you have a island, like a traffic island, like an island in the middle. I'm thinking of right over there.
Yes.
So maybe what you could consider, I don't know if MDOT would allow it, but I don't see why they wouldn't. Is maybe some type of an island where you have a refuge in the middle, then you can cross. That is, I've seen that in many communities. I don't know if I've seen it on Emeralds, but it is it can be done. I don't know what MDOT would allow. MDOT, I think would probably be more open to obviously more bump outs towards the edges of the street, maybe the middle. It's something we can have a conversation with them about.
Mark Tower had looked into that before, doing the island there, and MDOT said no.
Okay.
On M21, that they would.
The best way to slow down cars, we can follow the speed limits that we want, even if they're going to increase it, even if they decreased it. And the reality is people are going to drive as fast as they feel safe. So if you have wide lanes, not much around them, if there's no on-street parking, there's no buildings close to the street, people are going to go fast naturally, because otherwise it feels like you're barely moving. So, having, for lack of a better word, obstructions and narrow lanes and on-street parking and things in the middle of the road, that's what slows people down by design. Signs don't I mean, they help, but I think the best way to calm traffic is to design the street such that that's the speed that people go, because that's the speed that feels safe to them. If it's wide open, and it's straight, and it's flat, and it's smooth, and you put up a speed limit sign that says 15, it doesn't matter, people are gonna go 40,
Right.
because that's what feels safe to them.
Every idea we come up with, though, it's always subject to MDOT.
With Main Street, it is, you know, like Mike said, they own that street, and that's going to be one of the things that we'll have to work through. There might be other opportunities on city-owned streets. You know, MDOT philosophies aren't necessarily static; they're changing, and I think this is a long-term plan. This isn't everything in here in 5 years. Some of this stuff might take 15, 20 years to get done, but you know, over time, I think that MDOT has come around on other things. Years ago they didn't like on-street parking at all, and now they're allowing more of that. So it's not ideal at this present time, but that's not to say that in 5 years we might not be able to make something happen.
That's what I'd like to try to focus on, is finding ways that we can slow down the traffic in a natural manner that doesn't necessarily have to include MDOT's decision.
Yeah, and that's why we included in the implementation steps some of those what we call tactical items. I don't know what their feeling is on those, but they're basically just temporary, tested out kind of projects. So instead of building, making the investment and doing a full mid-block crossing with bump outs, we can put a bunch of temporary cones and bollards and stuff out there.
Now,
And see if
they
it
let
works.
us experiment?
I don't know.
No.
Yeah, I mean, I think that would be more likely than actually building all this.
Sure.
Right? You can put up, hey, if it doesn't work, we'll take it out. You're not out any money really, and they haven't changed the road design yet.
They're not, I mean, we've talked to them about certain things, just, trying to test them out. They're, depending on what it is, they said this, depending on what it is, we'd probably be open to it. But it depends what it is. I mean, I think we probably, internally, need to come up with some ideas, sit down with them, show them what we want to do, at least in the short term, test it out. Bump outs, they didn't really have an issue with. They just said they wanted to see what the plan was. Some of these more,
Well, like down where part of what King Milling did, there's not trucks coming in and out of there anymore. So could we put some kind of bump out stuff there that wouldn't really interfere with truck
We
traffic?
could identify certain corners that would work, and then other corners that we don't want to, obviously.
Right.
I think we talked about painting, on the pavement as an experimental, whether it's removable cones or
Yep.
even paint.
Yeah, and I mean, even, in the summer, you can put planters out there, but the idea, especially if you're concerned about truck traffic, is you put a bunch of stuff out there, if it gets run over, oh well, it's not that big of a deal. It's just a couple of traffic cones, or some of those temporary bollards. But, that, again, those obstructions, you can see how they work, you can see if they slow down cars, if they make it safer, you can kind of test stuff out, and if it works, then after that, you've got some actual real-world experience and data that you can use to kind of justify making a further, more permanent improvement after that.
Could the DEQ overrule MDOT with a duck crossing?
on the road,
Captive audience, any other questions? Okay, so this is kind of a, not exactly a blueprint, but a starting point.
Yeah, it's a plan. I mean, it's a long-term plan, so there are some things in here for the DDA and or the city to kind of pursue over time. This is a long-range plan. This isn't 5 years, so all of this stuff isn't going to be feasible or even desirable at this point, but over time, I think it's important to keep this stuff in here. So, moving forward, I guess we'd be looking for a recommendation of approval to the city council on this one, and then draft a resolution for council to formally adopt it at one of their next meetings.
And then after they formally adopt it, I probably would come back to the DDA and the council to modify the tax increment financing plan to include this in it.
Okay, anybody want to make that motion?
It's a motion to approve this, to send it to city council.
Yes.
Is that
Yep, to approve the downtown master plan and recommend to city council as presented.
I would move to do that.
Is there a second? Rita? Any further discussion?
So you can go back and change part of this.
Absolutely.
As it goes on.
Yep, you can make changes anytime. I already kind of anticipate there might be some things that come up, we might have to change it, so, but, yeah, you can change
You
it.
gotta move some.
Mhm.
It's good stuff.
Okay. Motion and a second. Any further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Okay, motion carries. So we will hear from this after the city council adopts that. And then, okay. Okay, thanks very much. Moving on to new business. Any business, Mike?
Nope.
No. Reports and member comments.
I have a question. Several meetings ago, we talked about art on the street. Is that dead? Or
Nope.
have we,
Nope, I've already contacted MSI,
okay,
so yeah, I'm working on that.
okay.
It was too late for this year.
Yeah, it wouldn't be till next year.
Oh, okay, okay.
You got months in advance.
That's it.
April?
Good.
Unofficial results, but it seems like people are stopping for me as a pedestrian more often than they used to. I mean, I know we wanted to have a light and we didn't get one, but it just, those signs seem to be helping. It's almost like they're stopping more than they're not.
Well, it's contagious. If somebody starts doing it, and the next time somebody goes through, they'll slow down when they see somebody there.
We had any more runs at all, or? No. Great.
I'm good.
Peter?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, I have some questions on BRA. I'm not sure if this is,
We'll do it the next meeting.
okay.
Yeah, that's it, when we adjourn here.
Well, the only reason I say that is board member comments was at the very end.
Oh, sure.
And so I had some questions about structure and some other things.
Sure.
If you want to wait, then we can wait.
Yep, no problem.
So we will officially adjourn our DDA meeting, and we need a motion to do that.
So moved.
Cliff, is there a second?
Second.
April? Any further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Then we'll move on to